Welcome, truth seekers and freedom lovers. This is Makia with the Freedom Articles. This is video number 317 on Monday, May 18th, 2026. And is it every 6 years, just like clockwork? We've been told that a hantavirus is coming now, coming to scare us. And it is interesting, this 6-year thing. Not that these have been the only outbreaks or fake pandemics. There have been others, but it does seem like they have some kind of regularity to them. And this isn't a natural regularity, but rather the planners, the controllers that are doing this, they have all this stuff they throw at humanity, and they're trying to basically break us down. And this is one of the tricks that they've got to throw us off kilter and to get us into fight or flight and to not be thinking clearly and rationally and to give away our power and to support authorities and governments. This is part of the agenda. I'm going to start this video off by playing a little excerpt from this man, Justin Leslie. He is a former Pfizer employee and a whistleblower. He went to Project Veritas when this was years ago when Jim O'Keefe was still there, and he actually compiled a lot of information. But he's got some good stuff to say here.
A whistleblower. I have sent whistleblower affidavits. My website is justintegrity.net. And that's because I am here to tell you the whole truth and nothing but the truth. The agenda behind this next virus is most likely going to be linked to some form of travel restrictions and some form of vaccination efforts, and really looking to lock down people again, and they're going to try and spin it so that people buy into their mass surveillance grid agenda, whoever they are. The reality is, there is no virus, my friends. They use cartoons to depict these viruses. They might as well put Santa or the Easter Bunny or the Tooth Fairy putting money under your pillow and call that a virus. Because the reality is, they've never proven this, and now this Hantavirus is all over Twitter, it's all over Instagram, it's all over TikTok. The whole thing is fake. It's an entire fraudulent hoax. Wake up. Tell everybody you know that we do not comply. We will not wear masks. We will not take a mass vaccine that is somehow being pre-planned by Moderna in 2024. We will not comply as humanity.
So it's a great message. If you want to check out his website, it's justintegrity.net, and you can see here on the homepage he links to different lawsuits where not lawsuits, but affidavits where he submitted certain things. One of them's here. He talks about what he did, the information he got when he was at Pfizer, and how he handed that over to James O'Keefe at Project Veritas. Some conversations he had with some Pfizer reps high up, where it's very revealing what they were admitting to. The drive is to be able to vaccinate everyone. Even without the FDA approval, they were getting an emergency authorization and all the stuff that happened during the COVID scandemic. Interestingly enough, if you look at this report here, cumulative analysis of post-authorization adverse event reports. So in other words, after there was the authorization, adverse event basically means a reaction. You have the vaccine and something bad happens, some ill health effect happens. If you scroll down, go to page 33 here and scroll down about halfway, look at this. You get hantavirus pulmonary infection as one of the listed side effects. So even in their own literature, they're talking about this. But there's millions of viruses they can just pull out, like pulling a rabbit out of a hat, and just say, hey, people have got this virus. Now there's a pandemic and it's spreading. It's just so easy for them to do that. There's predictive programming going on. This ex-post pulled something from Gavi, which is heavily funded by Bill Gates. The next pandemic, Hantavirus ? So they were already planning this to some degree, or seeding it in the public consciousness that this could happen. And I'm not going to spend too long on it, but remember Bill Gates. Remember his massive, massive role in the COVID scamdemic. Look what was happening in the early months of it. He was coming out on big mainstream media news stations saying, hey, you know, a lot of your rights, your inherent human rights, may never come back unless you're vaccinated. He actually said that. He was basically saying, hey, you can't get together in mass gatherings unless you're vaccinated. Here's a quote. Even the issue of once you get the case numbers down, what does opening up look like? Which activities like schools have such benefits that can be done in such a way that the risk of transmission is very low? And which activities like mass gatherings may be in a certain sense more optional? So until you're widely vaccinated, those may not come back at all. They're the words of Kill Gates right there. He's behind all of this as usual. But they're seeding the narrative lots of different things right now. So interestingly enough, this article came out December, a year and a half ago now, December 2024, talking about how there was a lab breach in Queensland and Australia, and all these different viruses escaped, right? Including the Hantavirus. Now, there were 2,300 virus samples, but they mentioned the Hantavirus as one of the examples they gave. So there's lots of different seeding of narratives going on, but I would suggest that what's going on here, it's just like COVID. They can be working on vaccines, which are the real bioweapons. They can have bio labs, and they can be developing viruses in there, but that doesn't mean that there's actually a real virus that can be actually isolated from a patient and proven to exist. And they can still run this story in the background as like a limited hangout kind of story. So the people that don't buy the official one will buy this story instead, that it's actually, escaped from a lab. But there doesn't need to be any virus for this scamdemic to work. And who knows where this will go, because I've been holding off on doing a video for a while on this topic, waiting to see what was going to happen. I'm not convinced that this is going to be the launching of the next scamdemic after COVID, but if it is, then it's just important to be informed and aware. John Rappaport is a great source because he was writing all the way through the 80s and 90s about the HIV/AIDS scam. That was based on the same thing. HIV was never proven to cause AIDS. It was never isolated. And the big pharma companies made a hell of a lot of money off pushing a very toxic drug called AZT, and that treated AIDS. So-called HIV created AIDS, even though there wasn't that scientific evidence that it did that. But regardless of what virus they pull out, we just have to get back to the basics of virology here, which is that we've got researchers assembling, in theory, a bunch of gene segments and gluing them together in theory on a computer screen. This is digital. And then they claim they have a new virus. And they're even bringing this hantavirus back to 1996 in Argentina. You can even read the official version on Wikipedia about the Andes virus. Andes virus is the only known hantavirus to spread between people, a route first identified in 1996. That this transmission as of 2026 is strongly supported by the evidence. Okay, so this is one of the stories they're saying. But remember, I did an article analyzing SARS-CoV-2. I called it 10 reasons that SARS-CoV-2 is an imaginary and theoretical virus. It goes the same for any virus. If you look at actually how they define a virus, it's on a computer screen, all right? We've got the fact that none of these viruses ever passed Koch's postulates or even Rivers' postulates, which were a gold standard, two different sets of postulates or conditions. You can say Koch's postulates are the gold standard, you can go by Rivers, but either way, it doesn't match up to those. It can't meet all these four conditions. Rivers has these four conditions a little different. Whichever set of postulates is used, SARS-CoV-2 fails the test. The Chinese scientist at the start of COVID admitted that they never isolated the virus. The CDC in America stated no quantified isolate was available. And you'll see later on down here, Canada and England said the same thing. We don't have an isolated quantity of it, so we can't actually produce the evidence that it exists. The CDC also admitted they made a digital virus of 30,000 base pairs using 37 actual sample base pairs. So they made it up to 30,000 from 37. In other words, this is quoting my previous article, is the Frankenstein virus, which has been concocted and stitched together using genomic database sequences. It has never been properly purified and isolated so that it could be sequenced from end to end once derived from living tissue. It is just digitally assembled from a computer database. All right, and then going down here, So in silico is not real Latin, but the idea is it's meant to say on a computer. That's the meaning it's meant to convey. To say a virus is in silico, it means it's theoretical, imaginary on a computer. It doesn't exist in the real world. They're just using computer programs, and they're pulling all these chromosomes and base pairs and doing all this stuff, and matching it and creating viruses on the screen. So this article, everything I wrote about SARS-CoV-2 can be applied to the Hantavirus or any future virus they pull out and try to base a new pandemic on. It's all a scam. Educate yourself about it, and we'll see if the Hantavirus goes any further or not. But no matter what they do, it's good to be aware and informed about this so that you don't go giving up your rights or getting vaccinated or doing something that's really not in your best interests. As always, don't take my word for it. Do your own research. Please leave your comments, and all links are placed in the show notes below every time. If you like this video and feel that I've earned it, please like, share, subscribe, and follow. My work is on Rumble, BitChute, Odysee, Brighteon, Substack, YouTube, and thefreedomarticles.com.